What's up, world? Uko here from Better Therapy Now, and welcome to Lesson 5, Time Management Strategies. So we've talked about setting realistic and very specific goals through visualization and the SMART Goals tool. And we've also talked about breaking bad habits and developing good habits. Now we want to really prioritize our time so that we are attacking the most important goals first. We'll talk about two tools to do this. One is time blocking, and the other one is the Eisenhower matrix. The first time management task is the Eisenhower matrix, and this is a matrix broken down into 4 blocks, and it helps you identify what is important, what's urgent, what you should do now, what you should schedule, what you should completely eliminate, and what you should delegate. So we'll start from the least important to kind of the most important. First is the things that are not important and not urgent. These tasks are things like watching TV, scrolling through social media, etc. You want to completely eliminate these things as much as possible. Not saying that you shouldn't have time to yourself or time to have fun, but really manage the amount of time that you're doing not important and not urgent things. Next are things that are not important, but they are urgent. So these things you want to delegate to somebody else. They're things that you don't necessarily need to do yourself because they're not really that important, but they do need to be done, and they do need to be done soon. So if you have the capability, delegate these things. Next is things that are important but not urgent. So these things you want to schedule. You don't want to lose sight of these tasks, but you want to put them on a daily planner or a calendar so that you don't completely forget about them, but they're not a priority right now. And then lastly, the things that are important and urgent, and you want to put these at the forefront of your to-do list because you want to tackle these things now. The Eisenhower matrix is great, but prioritizing the most important tasks is much easier said than done because those tasks are usually the most time consuming and often require the most brain power to do. So we tend to ignore those things. Mostly, at least in my personal experience and experience with working with clients, is people tend to put the not important and not urgent tasks up front just to have the feeling that they're accomplishing something or making progress rather than doing the more impactful and often more time consuming and difficult thing first. So let's take the example of starting a cleaning business. What are the urgent and important things to do? Well, you need to buy your cleaning supplies. You need to register your business, develop a business plan, actually reach out to real people and potential clients. If you don't do those things, you're not going to have a business. So those are like the important and urgent things that you need to do and should be at the top of your to-do list. What are the important but not necessarily urgent things if you're starting a cleaning business? Well, maybe developing partnerships with supply companies for future operations. That doesn't necessarily need to be done right now, but in the future. Maybe hiring employees for scaling operations. Well, you're just like a one-man or a two-man show right now, so trying to hire employees for scaling operations is something in the future. So you want to schedule that. What are some urgent but not important things? So things that you need to do now but can probably be delegated because they're not that important. Things like managing your social media account, calling or answering routine calls, ordering cleaning supplies. All these things they need to be done, but they're not that important and they can easily be delegated because they don't require that much thinking power. And when it comes to those types of things, things that are not important but need to happen now, those types of tasks tend to bog people down when they're trying to manage their time accordingly, and they can get stuck in the weeds of doing the urgent but not important things rather than focusing on the important urgent things. And finally, what are the not important and not urgent things? These are things that don't really add value to your overall goal or your overall end state. Things like obsessing over your logo and over the small details of your logo, or engaging in social media discussions that aren't even that relevant, or watching how-to videos excessively. When you identify some type of goal, you should look at all the to-dos and ask yourself, how much value does each to-do provide? And maybe even rank each to-do on a scale of 1 to 10 just to figure out and help yourself prioritize those to-dos from most urgent and most important to least urgent and least important. Ultimately, the Eisenhower matrix will help you eliminate distractions and enhance your ability to focus. It's going to take practice, but you're going to have to become good at identifying the tasks that add real value in your journey to getting to your end state, to your ultimate goal. The mind naturally seeks comfort and dopamine rushes, and it feels good to accomplish something that doesn't really add that much value but is really easy. And it doesn't feel as good to engage in a task that takes several hours or an entire day but adds significant value. And you have to really look at your to-do list, read each thing on there, each step, and the thing that you cringe at the most is probably the thing that you need to do first. Next is time blocking. So this is giving specific amounts of time to each task that you do. Not everybody has the luxury to be able to focus on just one thing the entire day. So you want to be able to take as big a chunk out of an important and urgent task as you can. So time blocking says dedicate a certain amount of time to that task and then dedicate maybe even a smaller amount of time to other tasks that aren't as significant. It helps to even time block rest. So time blocking times when you're focused and working, and then time blocking the rest between sets of work. Most people cannot focus for more than about 50 minutes to an hour and a half. So any blocks of time that are bigger than that without a rest are probably going to be counterproductive. The Eisenhower Matrix worksheet walks you through the process of breaking down your goals using that matrix. Go through the list of goals that you've already listed in this course and find the one that you either cringe at the most or the one that requires the most amount of steps. That one will be ideal for the Eisenhower Matrix because it will break that goal down into actionable steps and help you prioritize all the different milestones or steps in the process of accomplishing that goal. So I'll talk about a couple of the steps in the Eisenhower Matrix that might be kind of difficult if you have more personalized or smaller goals that you're trying to accomplish. Things like, finishing an essay or writing, a book of poems or even like losing weight or learning the piano. Things that don't require like a staff. One step is the important but not urgent, which you would normally delegate. And it's like, how do I delegate if I don't have a staff? And there's a lot of ways that you can delegate tasks without having actual people that are working for you necessarily. One, which is really becoming more common, is just using AI. Say you want to lose weight or have a healthier diet or something like that. AI can really help you develop a plan of action without you having to put in so much brain power into that. You can also utilize things like virtual assistants using freelancers. Freelancers can do a whole lot of things for just independent contractors or people that are working on personal goals to take away a little bit of that energy that are brain power energy. Virtual assistants are another good source that you can use depending on the type of goal that you're trying to accomplish, even if it's a brainstorming session that you do with somebody else, or finding some type of group that can help you think a little bit faster and a little bit clearer. But try to become a little bit more creative when it comes to delegating. Don't just think in terms of an actual person doing tasks for you. The next category that I want to talk about is the not urgent and not important category. So this is the list of tasks that you do that you want to eliminate. And they're not even really tasks. A lot of these things are going to just be bad habits. So there'll be things like just time wasters, like watching TV or spending time on social media or just other things like that. And you want to analyze each one of these things and identify, what do these things do for me? What am I getting out of it? How counterproductive are they? And is that worth it? And take the cleaning business example. So the not important, not urgent task was designing a logo and obsessing over the fine details of the logo. Not important and not urgent tasks, you want to eliminate them and identify them quickly and clearly when you eliminate them, because they will often come dressed as an important task. And really what they are an excuse to delay before you engage in the important and urgent tasks, which is often much more difficult and the type of task that you often cringe at because you know that's going to take time and take a lot of brain power. And the not important and not urgent tasks kind of rescue you from that and can really prevent you from making progress in a goal that you want to accomplish. So far, we've talked about developing realistic and specific goals. We've talked about visualization. We've talked about how to break bad habits and build good habits. And we've talked about managing time so that we can really optimize our willpower. Once you go from step to step, it's going to require mindfulness and focus in order to continue to progress. And that's going to be the topic of our next lesson.